come she will. When streams are ripe and swelled with rain, May she will stay, resting in my arms again. Change her tune. In restless walks she'll prowl the night. July she will fly and give no warning to her flight. Die she must. The autumn winds blow chilly and cold. September I remember. A love once new has now grown old. April Come She Will is a great finger-picking song, early Paul Simon tune. Matter of fact, it was on this album, their second album, Sounds of Silence. And Paul wrote it. Art Garfunkel sang it, really just a solo vocal part. Many of their songs, of course, had harmony. This was their big sound, the Everly Brothers sound of duet guitar vocal duets. And anyway, April Come She Will is a very basic finger-picking song, not difficult to play, but it has enough unusual things that step outside of patterns a little bit. So it's a really good song to work on if you've got some basic finger-picking patterns down and want to branch out a little bit. So what we're going to do in this lesson is take a look at the introduction, done with a D shape of a chord up at the 7th fret, making it a G chord and some nice little alternating picking going on in there. And then the rest of it is really just chords in the key of G, although we have a couple of unusual ones. We'll take a look at those in the next segment. And you really just keep a steady alternating bass pattern going in the style of what's known as Travis picking. So we're going to play through this song a little different than they did on the album, probably a little slower too. As Art Garfunkel continued performing this over the years, it slowed down a bit, and it was pretty frantic on the original recording. But we're going to look again at the picking patterns and just the chords. There really is only one section to the song. Well, there's the intro, which is used also as the outro. So we hear that at the beginning, at the end, and then there's just one section of a verse. So I have a chart that has the chords to the verses. The third verse has a slightly different ending. And then I do have it in tablature as a guitar profile, so we'll take a look at that too. And of course you can download that as a PDF. You don't have to have Guitar Pro to see the tab. But in a song like this, I try to encourage people to mess around with it. Don't worry about doing it exactly the same way all the time. But in the right-hand close-up, we'll talk about some of the different finger-picking patterns, and then we'll take a look at the chords. So let's get into the rest of what you need to know to play April Come She Will, except for one more thing. They did this at various times, capoed at different places. I'm going to do the lesson with it uncapoed, putting it in the key of G. The original recording was about a half step and about another 20% higher. So their guitar was a little bit off of a standard pitch. Now they could have sped it up with tape effects. Not sure exactly how that happened. But so if you want to play this with the record or the original recording, you're going to have to tune your guitar up a little bit and then put a capo at the first. I don't recommend it. Just leave it at the first. You'll be a little bit out of tune with them. Depends on the speed of your turntable too. So anyway, let's take a look at the hands and everything else that's going on in April Come She Will. This tune is in the key of G. Almost all of the chords follow stuff out of the key of G. So what we're going to see is G's, C's, and D's, chords numbers 1, 4, and 5 in G. Two of the minor chords, A minor, which would be chord 2, and E minor, which would be chord 6. couple of normal chords in the key of G, but in unusual voicings. So in the introduction, we're going to see this D shape of a chord moved up to the 7th fret. What your right hand is going to do in April Come She Will is standard finger picking. Mostly, and you just need to look at the tablature for really for the verse, not so much for the introduction. The introduction has some unusual things going on this D chord and the G chord. We'll talk about that in the breakdown segment. But on a G chord, I'm going to keep a steady bass pretty much alternating between the 6th and 4th. Let's take a look at the chord chart and the tablature and work through everything that kind of happens in here. On the tablature page has the exact picking that you can do. Again, this song doesn't ever exactly have to go one way. But what we're going to do is let's grab that D shape of a chord at the 7th fret, and the unusual thing about the first measure is it doesn't keep a steady alternating bass going. Now, it could. Nah, it doesn't sound very good. Never mind. Because what happens is we've got this melody that is syncopated. 3 melody notes. The high B played on the first beat as a dotted quarter note. The G on the 2nd string played on the and of beat 2. And then the D on the and of 3. I'm going to do a slowed down version. I have a metronome set at 100, which is probably close to half the real speed. And we'll run through just the intro and one verse. And that should, and maybe after that verse, we'll take it back to the outro. We'll see how it goes. Don't forget, when we start this in the very beginning, the beats are going to be going about this fast, and it does not start with bass notes on the beat. Let's see what we can do. I hope I can. I'm going to try to get this as accurately as I can with the tablature, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. 3, 4. Would be right here.